It's Chamber of Commerce weather in South Florida. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Homestead Miami Speedway and the start of the 2021 National Autosport Association racing season. My name is Ryan Marine. Mike Perlberg is alongside, and it is the Florida region that will get us started here this year. Beautiful place, beautiful race. Can't wait to get this one started, Mike.
Yeah, the 2.1825 mile road course here at Homestead Miami. 75 and sunny, and the cars are going to be going a lot faster than 75 here. We got all sorts. We got American Iron with the Mustangs. We've got the HDPE cars out there at times, and then of course spec Miatas, SE30s. A lot of fun action. Really looking forward to the racing we're going to experience this weekend here at Homestead Miami, Ryan.
Two race groups, Lightning and Thunder, plus time trials. All that action coming up. But first, let's learn a little bit more about this venue, the Homestead Miami Speedway, with Mike.
Racing on Florida beaches goes back to the early 20th century. Miami has cemented itself as a cornerstone of that motorsports history with the racing destination that is Homestead Miami Speedway. The story of the Speedway starts with disaster. Hurricane Andrew devastated the area in 1992. Enter race promoter Ralph Sanchez, who wanted to help rebuild his hometown of Miami. He broke ground on Homestead Miami Speedway 1 year later in '93. In April of 1995, the track hosted its inaugural race with NASCAR. And for 26 years, it has been a home to some of the best auto racing in the world. Hundreds of events witnessed by 55,000 people in the grandstands and millions more on broadcasts. The Speedway is just 23 miles from the white sands and tan bodies of South Beach. It reflects the Miami culture better than the waters of the Atlantic Ocean. You'll spot a Cuban food truck, a pastel color scheme, count over 1,000 palm trees around the track, and there's even a beach on the infield. The Speedway consists of two components, the 1.5-mile oval speedway and the 15-turn 2.2-mile road course. For those smaller engines, there's a karting track. And for those really small engines, RC racers can utilize a mini road course and an airfield for RC airplanes. This weekend, the National Autosports Association Florida region rolls into sunny South Florida. And NASA Racing is no stranger to Homestead. Multiple weekend racing is scheduled here each year. We're ready to witness some of the fastest grassroots racers in the Sunshine State take on each other and the twists and turns of this track. They'll hope to stay out of the sand and speed toward a victory. Homestead Miami Speedway, where the roar of the engines rises from the swamps.
Let's take a look at this 15-turn, 2.825-mile infield road course at the Homestead Miami Speedway. That's the first section right there. Critical turns 1 and 2, leading into a pair of 180-degree corners in turns 3 and 4. That'll spit you out of turn number 5, down the first of many long straightaways into the heavy braking zone of turn 6. Great passing opportunity, a lot of curb on the outside available to use if necessary. Turn 7, down another long straightaway into turn 8. Crucial corner, tight, twisty, possibly the most important corner on the course because it spits you out then onto the back straightaway of the oval. 3 degrees of banking on this oval. You come off of that banking down into turns 10 and 11. Another great passing opportunity. Then through turn 12, which is a quick left-hander, into the 13-14 switchback. That'll lead you back out onto the front straightaway, and it's time to do it all over again at Homestead Miami Speedway. Let's learn a little bit more about one of our competitors. Mike had a chance to catch up with Carson Waymeyer last night to preview the season to come.
We're joined right now by Carson Waymeyer, who's he and his father and a group of other buddies frequently get out and participate in NASA events, either on the track or just as a support staff. So, Carson, thanks for joining us here. I want to ask you real quick, who are your sponsors?
So, well, we have Florida Lamarck and Biley Aviation, 2 guys that race with us. They also run in the class. They share this. This is a shared car, like a spare car. They both have money into, and they kind of let me drive it. We do work for them, they do work for us, kind of work it out.
Yeah.
I really appreciate what they do for me. So.
As a 20-year-old guy, you know, kind of getting started,
Yeah.
Mom and Dad can be a big support.
Big support. That's, I mean, day in, day out, whether I'm at the track or not, they're supportive of everything. I live with them still, help me pay for school, stuff like that. Here is a big effort, especially my dad who works on every car here. We wouldn't be here without him. So I don't think half the people here honestly would be. So.
Your father, Pat, been racing for a long time with NASA since 2005, is that right?
2002, he was like introduced to all that stuff and slowly started working for him and racing around. They did like HPD, like class stuff. And then like in the mid to late 2000s, they started getting into race groups and stuff and started actually like driving wheel to wheel.
So around the time you were born.
Yeah.
Since then, he's been involved in NASA, so you've been born and raised in a NASA family.
Kind of grandfathered in. Just kind of invited to the tech team. I kind of would watch or hang out. I come to the track when I was like in middle school and stuff, kind of see what's going on. I always enjoyed it because I always, from a young age, was always interested in this kind of stuff. So
really get on the track about 9 or 10 times a year, we were discussing. But at home, you get plenty of practice on your simulator. How helpful is that in your development as a race driver?
I mean, once you get out here, a lot of stuff will leave your head and you're kind of just focused, like to drive. But like, I mean, even before this weekend, we haven't been here in a year and a half before COVID. I loaded it up on my iRacing simulator and I drove a Mustang like the one over there, and that's like a newer model, like an S197, and it's really similar, like brake zones, like gear ratio, stuff like that. It's really dead on. I mean, what I drove on the simulator is actually what the same car did on pole today, basically.
Carson, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
And good luck here for the rest of the weekend at Homestead Miami.
Thank you so much.
We'll take you right back to Homestead Miami Speedway in just a moment, but first this from our sponsor. Welcome back to the NASA broadcast from Homestead Miami Speedway. Alongside Mike Perlberg, I'm Ryan Marine, about ready to go green for the first race of the 2021 season. It is the Thunder Group, Mike, ready to get this thing going.
Yeah, Thunder Group, so we're looking at Ford Mustangs and a few other classes out there, but I would anticipate we're going to see most of our action today focus on those Mustangs out there in the American Iron class. But first off, first thing, the rest of the group.
Here we go, the green flag waves, and we are underway. A strong move to the inside by that Corvette of Scott Argyle, able to jump up into second, and then a great move from that Lotus Exige. Greg Vanucci able to sweep to the outside of our pole sitter here of the opening sequence of corners. Jacek Mucha will have to settle for second here in the early going, still trying to get the tire temps up on that Swift prototype. Fastest in qualifying by nearly 5 seconds. Second wave coming to the green flag, and it waves now for American Iron. Ford Mustangs coming into turn number 1. Strong move around the outside. That is Waymeyer in the white Mustang number 95. Able to snag the lead here in the early going. The battle was third. Waymeyer able to make that move around the outside of Marcus Rodriguez. But second to go on board with Patrick Waymeyer here. Excuse me, that's with Carvin Pace following Patrick Waymeyer. The top 4 nose to tail at American Iron. Big lunge down the inside, and Rodriguez goes to the point. Well, this is what American Iron Racing is all about. Different generations of the Ford Mustang racing in close quarters, racing relatively evenly. Came for the overall lead. You saw it there a moment ago. No surprise. Jacek Mucha able to go back to the top. That prototype in the hands of a very experienced driver, professional racing experience in IMSA and USF 2000. Once he got his tire tipped up in that lightweight car, able to muscle his way around and take the overall lead once again. But back on board now in the American Iron class. This is coming off the back straightaway into the infield, turn 11. Now turn 12 at Homestead Miami Speedway. More of the infield road course layout. Mike will be using the full NASCAR high bank tomorrow.
Yeah, the drivers had a vote on that in the drivers' meeting here earlier today. They got them all in and took a vote. It was surprising. The number of guys really didn't want to do the high bank NASCAR 3 and 4, but there were a few who did, so they compromised and said, well, we'll throw a few high bank races out there on Sunday for you guys who really want to do it. But yeah, for this race's purposes anyways, it's road track all the way.
Certainly puts a lot of strain on equipment using the high banks. Lots of speed, lots of heat in the tires, so certainly the concern is understandable. But right now, we don't need to worry about that because we're using the full infield layout for race number 1. And American Iron, top 4, you could throw a blanket over a bike. This is really close stuff at the front of the field.
Yeah, kind of what we anticipated coming in. Ford
Here's
Mustangs in the
now.
American Iron class.
Yes,
largely running, minute 37 to minute 40 per lap, and it's been competitive as we've seen up front since the green flag dropped.
Rodriguez able to hang on to that top spot. We saw him take it just a few moments ago. Now under threat once again from Waymeyer down the inside. It's Rodriguez, Waymeyer, and here we are once again on board with the white with a blue hood Mustang.
So we got Patrick Waymeyer in the white, number 95, and right behind him in the red, early 90s Mustang, you got son Carson Waymeyer, and that's what it's all about in grassroots racing. You get, on occasion, those family duels out there, father and son jockeying for position against one another.
Carson Waymeyer, the reigning American Iron champion in the Florida region. Strong start to his season, running there in third. Already the AI leaders starting to get into the back of some out-of-class traffic. Mason Searcy there in the ST5 class Miata. Saw him a moment ago. Rodriguez lost the lead there initially, but was able to gain it back right through this sequence of corners, but has not been able to drive away from the father and son duo of the Waymeyers and this man right here, Carmine Pace, hanging tight as well. Top 4 all within striking distance. Until just a moment ago, Eduardo Rodriguez was in the mix as well, but he's dropped off the back of these guys just a little bit. Up in front of the AI leaders, that is the leader in the ST5 class, that Porsche 914, Shane Sparks. You can see the speed differential between these two classes. Sparks did a great job running his own race, but not affecting the AI battle as it came through. That's a big part of this. If you're in the slower class, trying to figure out the best way to get past without losing too much time and not interfering. And likewise, the faster classes coming through, they can't just barge through. It has to be a well-considered passing attempt, and working through traffic, out-of-class traffic, that's a big part of club racing at any level.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are going to get close. They might trade paint on occasion, but by and large, they're going to try and keep things relatively intact. And so, the aggression level of this type of racing, it's a little bit more laid back. I mean, there's still certainly the competitive spirit out there, but as far as trade and paint, guys are going to just be patient, and you get those groups coming up on the slower vehicles that they may be lapping those vehicles in the other classes, running slower laps. I mean, really the whole group behind them, as we're seeing with this AI, this 4-pack right here, they're each going to slow down. Nobody's going to look to jockey too much for position in those situations. They'll wait till everybody can safely get by those slower vehicles before they really try to make their passes.
Saw Carmine Pace make an attempt to get to the inside of Carson Waymeyer a moment ago. Couldn't get that pass made. Just to settle back in line. And here we go, working through traffic once again. I think that was Rocket Horton we saw a moment ago. This is the leaders in ST2. A bunch of them running pretty tight together. Horton, the ST2 champion a year ago in that Porsche 996 GT3. Having a nice battle with one of the BMWs. We saw them go side by side there for just a moment. And
Yeah,
it will
talking to
stay
Rocket
side by
this
side
weekend.
under
He's
the
a-
banking.
Rocket, talking with him, he's actually a Porsche engine mechanic. That's his day job. But here on the weekends, he likes to get behind the wheel and as he's tuned up his own Porsche 996 and see what he can get it to do out there.
Big moment there for Patrick Waymeyer. He's able to bring it back in line. That back end stepped out on him. He was still able to mount an assault there through turn 4, but had the nose chopped off just a little bit. Some stout defense shown by our leader, Marcus Rodriguez. Rodriguez able to clear the out-of-class traffic, that red Corvette. I believe that's Jay Rudolph, 21 car. On board with 4th place, Carmine Pace. Facing down Carson Waymeyer in the red Mustang just up the road. Coming through turn 8 now, and then the quick jaunt to the left, which is turn 9, back up onto the backstretch. 3 degrees of banking on the straightaways on either side, and you're diving into the infield like they're about to do right here for turns 10 and 11, and really does shift the weight around, and it makes for some wild moments just like we saw right there from on board. Rear end of that Mustang stepping out big time on Carmine Pace.
Yeah, that last S-curve before the front straightaway, that's where guys are really going to be aggressive on turn 12, trying to put themselves in position to hit the gas first coming out of the S-turn. So they're coming off. They got good speed coming off the back straightaway into turns 10 and 11. Then they get to 12. We've seen some cars earlier this weekend have some trouble in there. And it's just guys trying to do what they can to put themselves in a position to hit that gas first.
That's exactly right. It's a crucial spot on the racetrack leading through that 13-14 section. Really turn 14-15, the final couple of corners, about as important as you'll find on a lap around this place. Great passing opportunity in turn 1 on the brakes. Similarly, into 6 and into 8, this track provides several different chances, and we've seen cars going side by side already here in the early going. Rodriguez trying to hold off the family Waymeyer, with Carmine Pace keeping a close eye on things from a little bit further back. Patrick Waymeyer looking pretty stout. Might have the legs on Rodriguez if he could just get around. Those two have swapped the top spot in AI a couple of times already. Back on board. There's that left-hander into the infield section for the second time. That's 11. This is turn 12. Brief little straightaway here, and then quickly to the right for turn 13. Back to the left for 14. A little kink to the left coming up onto the straightaway. That's turn 15, the final corner on this particular layout of Homestead Miami Speedway. Once again, Rodriguez taking that defensive line down the front straightaway into turn 1, and it served him well. He's been able to keep Waymeyer behind.
This is a ton of fun watching these AI guys go at it. The Waymeyers from Bradenton, Florida. They got a handful of sponsors. You know, some guys go out there, they got some sponsors. Other guys are just kind of self-funding it. Grassroots racing, you get all kinds.
Yep, Carson Waymeyer, Spiralty Aviation, Naples Jet Center, Rod Mark, and of course Mom and Dad as the crucial sponsors to get things going. Sponsor, maybe the most important sponsor, Dad, is just up the road right now, although actually Carson just lost that spot. He's back in the 4th spot now as Pace was able to make the move through traffic. So move Carmine Pace up a spot, running in 3rd, and now we'll see if he can run down Father Patrick Waymeyer.
Carson, he's started racing go-karts at age 5. And his dad began racing NASA all the way back in 2002. So right about the time Carson was born, Dad Patrick got involved with the National Auto Sport Association.
And it really does run in the family. It's not at all a unusual thing to see father and son racing together, brother and brother, brother and sister. Got plenty of mothers and daughters racing these days as well. And it is a family atmosphere. Your racing colleagues become your extended family at the racetrack. And more often than not, if something goes wrong and you need a part to make a repair at the racetrack, something like that, somebody who you're going to be going door to door with later in the weekend, they'll be the first over to help you out, lend a wrench, lend some time, and get you back out on the racetrack.
Well, you want those guys out there. It makes it more fun. You don't want them in the sidelines. You want them out there with you so you can compete against them. So yeah, you'll lend them a wrench, you'll lend them a brake, whatever it takes to get them out there.
I want to go ahead and look at a Porsche versus Corvette battle. There's something that sounds awfully nice about that. Even at the highest levels of professional road racing, you see that rivalry, and it trickles on down here to the club level as well. On board once again with Pace, slotting in behind the Corvette of Jay Rudolph out of the ST2 class. Now Pace still running in that third spot right now, held up a little bit by the Corvette, which is really strong in the infield, but in ST2 spec, it doesn't seem to quite have the ponies of the Mustangs down the back straightaway. And that's part of the beauty of multi-class racing is you bring your car, and we, the National Auto Sport Association, will find a spot for it. We'll find a class, and more often than not, it'll find you somebody you can race with. So not sure what happened to Carson Waymeyer, who was dropped off of his battle. Was running very strong and up in the third spot for quite a while, but haven't seen that car in a while. And in that wide shot a moment ago, Mike seems to have dropped off of this fight.
He did. He went into the pits, back to the garage here a lap or two ago.
That would
find out what the issue was.
Yeah. He's now the fourth place running Mustang, I believe, that we're taking a look at here. That's Marcus Rodriguez. But it's still a really good scrap at the front. Look at this. It's closed in once again. Pace has the pace. He's on it. But right now it's Waymeyer on the attack here. Through turn number 7, this is a good run into turn 8. A great passing zone. You see how wide this track is. Turn 8's a very tight hairpin to the left coming up in just a moment. Not close enough to get the job done this time, but that is one of those braking zones where if you got a nice head of steam, you can get that pass made. Great shot of the backstretch at Homestead Miami Speedway. Those blue walls painted, inspired by the Art Deco district of Miami just down the road. The palm trees outside and inside of the track, Mike, we were talking about this off air. Over 1,000 palm trees and something like 15 different varieties planted around this circuit. And it's one of the first things you think of when you think of Homestead Miami Speedway. The blue walls and the palm tree. Make sure you know you're in Florida.
Reminds you of South Beach.
That's right.
That's where you and I are going tonight for drinks, right?
You got it. Socially distanced, of course. It's still Eduardo Rodriguez leading the way in American Iron. Keep in mind, several other classes still out there. ST2, hotly contested throughout the course of this race. Lots of cars in that class. Several cars running unchallenged in their classes. Using this as an opportunity to get some valuable seat time. That there is the leader that the AI leaders are working their way through. The leader in ST5, Shane Sparks once again in that blue and orange Porsche 914. Beautiful car, much different performance level than a Ford Mustang.
So got an update here. Carson Waymeyer out with a brake issue. That's what caused him to go and duck out of this race. He's in the garages working on that. And also we had, from the AI class in the Mustangs, Cameron Graysbury also dropped out of the race. He had an issue as well.
That's really a shame. These guys work so hard throughout the off-season to get these cars ready to go. And that said, a brake issue is nothing to sneeze at. You got to be very careful with those, especially at a track like this. There are a lot of walls. Some tracks you go to, and you have to try to hit something. this is not one of those. As we take a look here at another one of the ST5 cars, Shane Sparks.
Carson told us
Jason
he got
Searcy.
the hand-me-down from Dad Patrick, so maybe got the hand-me-down brakes too.
Well, let's hope not. But definitely disappointing way to get the season started for our defending champion here in the Florida region in American Iron.
Both
Great
those
view for
Waymeyers
Pro.
and their Mustangs running a Boss 363 under the hood.
Yeah, it's so interesting. You've got multiple generations of Mustang here fighting it out. But the way that NASA goes about balancing these cars within the classes, there's things they can do with air restrictors and ballast to try and even out the platforms. And by and large, that's exactly what they do. As we take a look at our overall leader here once again, Jacek Mucha in that Swift OJ MS016, a lightweight prototype car. Back in the, well, if you go back 3 or 4 years, you could have seen one of these cars racing in some professional classes. Right now, pretty much relegated to club level racing, but very fast. Most of these cars are powered by motorcycle engines. I'm not exactly sure what Jacek's got underneath the cowling of that machine, but super lightweight, and with the motorcycle engines, they're pretty torquey.
Yeah, I got an up-close look at Mucha's car earlier today, and carbon fiber body. You know, it's not the most aesthetically pleasing, but awfully effective out there on the track, no doubt, as evidenced by his overall lead.
And certainly the qualifying time, put in a time 5 seconds faster than the next closest in qualifying. Is running unchallenged in Super Unlimited here this weekend. But look at that car. You say maybe not aesthetically pleasing. I think others might disagree. It's a much different car, and the way you have to drive it is a lot different than, say, the Mustangs or the Corvettes. They make a lot of downforce, and trusting that downforce in the high-speed corners is the big challenge for drivers coming from a non-downforce car, and Jacek clearly has it figured out. Like I said earlier, does have some experience in various open-wheel series, including USF 2000, bottom rung on the road to Indy ladder, and has been campaigning open-wheel cars and small prototypes like this one at the club level for quite some time. Up front at AI, it does seem like this is the most breathing room that Rodriguez has had. He can look in the mirror, and he doesn't have the mirror full immediately of the white Mustang of Waymeyer right away. Crucial corner here to get the power down coming onto this long back straightaway. Another opportunity perhaps to get a pass done if you're close enough, especially with the slipstream on board again. Carmine Pace. Carmine Pace has been really impressive. Dropped back 4th or 5th early on and has rallied since then. And since getting around Carson Waymeyer, he's been able to run down the top two, and they're not driving away from him at all. Taking a look here at Porsche versus Corvette once again. There's the Lotus once again coming up onto the backstretch we saw a moment ago. That's Greg Vannucci, second fastest qualifier, and had a really great start to the race. Made a bold move around the outside on cold tires to grab the overall lead. Has dropped back since then, but doing a great job in the ST2 category. 25 car there. That is Rocket Horton. We've talked about him a little bit.
Perfect race car driver name, if you ask me.
That's right. Can't get much better than Rocket.
Nope.
It's spelled with 2 Ks. R-O-K-K-E-T. I wonder if racing was in the family to get a name like that.
And that's another family that you'll see more than one Horton out there. Even in this race, Winston, his son, driving a Porsche 944T out there on the track. He's in the ST4.
Yeah, Winston Horton racing with Wayne Thompson in ST4. That's Porsche 944 versus BMW M3.
There's Rocket.
battle between the two German marks. And yeah, Rocket right there putting some pressure on the black Corvette just up the road. I think that's Scott Argout in that Corvette who had a really brilliant start. Started quite a ways back, 4 or 5 rows deep, and just came up the inside, stuck it on the brakes, and made it stick. Jumped a bunch of spots right at the very beginning of this race. Like some strife here for 123. Missed the number on that car, but one of the...
It was Randy Moore, 626 in the AIs. I think he got
That's right.
spun out back there.
Good to see him back underway. Hopefully it's nothing more than simple spin. Top 3 in American Iron. Not quite as close as they were early on in this race. And a lot of credit has to go to Marcus Rodriguez, who survived a lot of pressure early on, lost the lead, made a really strong move to the inside under braking in turn 6 in the opening couple of laps to get that lead back, and then withstood several attempts from Patrick Waymeyer to get that lead back, and now seems to have the handling figured out. That car is coming to him as this race goes along. Watching these Mustangs just eat up all that curbing. Some cars, like the Swift prototype we were talking about earlier, really got to be careful with those curbs. They're tightly sprung, and you can do some damage to the car, especially as low to the ground as that Swift is. These Mustangs, though, they're made to absorb that kind of punishment, and oftentimes the fastest way around a track like this is up and over some of those curbs.
Yeah, the pony cars, they call it the AI division for a reason. Iron.
That's
Set
right.
to take a beating.
Gotta love all the different sights and sounds of sports car racing as well. The Mustangs have a very distinct rumble to them. Then you get something like the Miata, little 4-cylinder engine pushing out maybe 120, 130 horsepower.
We've hit the 35-minute mark here.
Getting close to the end of this one. And the battle for second is close. You see the brake lights flash momentarily there on the 95 just up ahead of Carmine Pace. And I think that was Waymeyer who's got the back end swinging out on him there through turn 8. But Waymeyer testing those brakes, making sure that they're there, maybe pumping them up a little bit before the heavy brake zone. You don't want to get there and find out they're gone. So that's why you'll often see the drivers just tap that brake pedal a little bit, make sure the pedal is nice and firm. So you've got the confidence to get on the binders hard in the brake zone. Tell you what, that car does not look like it's handling all that well, but he's able to keep the pace up and keep Carmine Pace behind. 3 different generations of the Mustang, 1, 2, and 3 in American Iron. Once again, here's the 25, Rocket Horton, who is a champion in 2 different classes a year ago, German Touring Series 4 and ST2. The 2020 champion in this region.
Driving the Porsche 966. One of the 2 Porsches out there this particular race.
Yeah, the 996 is just a delineation of the model of the 911. So this is a Porsche 911, but you see the 996, and Porsche aficionados will know that's how Porsche keeps track of which evolution of the 911 it is. And the beautiful thing about a 911 is you look at it, and the shape is basically unchanged from when the thing debuted back in the 50s, Ferdinand Porsche's creation. You can see that heritage, the rear engine layout, and kind of the bulbous look of it. You can see that heritage continuing all the way through, and so the 996 is a couple generations old at this point in time, but still a tremendous car, both on the street and on the racetrack.
Rocket Horton, his day job is a Porsche mechanic.
Mckay knows his way around one of these things. Not a surprise to see him piloting it so fast. Big lockup there behind one of the Corvettes headed into turn 13. Talked about this as one of those tricky spots on this racetrack. And checkered flag is out. We've got our winner in American Iron. Congratulations, Marcus Rodriguez. Able to pull away to a pretty healthy lead at the end of things. Picks up the class win. It's Patrick Waymeyer taking third and Carmine Pace, our onboard camera car, completing the podium in American Iron in third. I think we saw Jacek Mucha coming around to take the overall win just behind. What a battle it was at the front of this field.
Jacek Mucha, fastest time in this race, 1 minute 32.6.
And that might have just been the checkered flag for him. And the AI cars look like they're still racing, so we've got 1 lap left for them. They had the checkered flag out because the overall leader was about to come through, so apologies there, but no challenge here for Eduardo Rodriguez at the moment. He's just got to keep it nice and smooth. Meanwhile, Waymeyer under threat, very defensive on the entrance to turn number 8, able to fend off Pace for the moment. Still a couple more chances for Carmine Pace to try and make that move. Diving down for the final time into turn 11.
Pace
all
running
of a
about
sudden,
a half second behind Waymeyer right now.
And look at Waymeyer closing in. This thing's not over yet. Something went slightly amiss on this lap for Marcus Rodriguez, but he's able to get the power down out of turn 15 and will lead the AI field to the checkered flag. It is Eduardo Rodriguez who picks up the win in American Iron over Carson Waymeyer, make that Patrick Waymeyer, and Carmine Pace.
Yeah, there was those three up front the whole way, start to finish pretty much, and it wasn't a whole. I mean, at the beginning we saw Patrick Waymeyer have a short, a brief lead, but beyond that, it was just those guys 1, 2, 3 for most of the way. Carson Waymeyer was in the mix for a while, but of course he had that brake issue, and but even that didn't change much as far as the running order of things for these American Iron guys.
Great scrap all race long between these 3 drivers. A lot of respect shown. Great work working through the out-of-class traffic as well. And the great news is we get to do it all over again tomorrow, except instead of the 15-turn layout, you can cut off about 5 of those turns and add the turns 3 and 4 of the oval for Sunday's race. There's a look at your overall winner. Jacek Mucha in the Swift prototype. Lost the overall lead briefly at the start. Once those tire temps came up, though, he was a rocket ship, storming back to the front. And he'll take that car back to the paddock, and once he gets through tech, to victory lane.
All right, I'm going to head on down, maybe get an interview with a few of our race winners.
All right, looking forward to hearing from our race winners. Thank you very much, Mike. And we will watch our top 3, our podium in American Iron, make their way down to pit lane. Just behind them, the Miata of Jason Searcy, who we saw a couple of times. Good battle with Shane Sparks in ST5. And these guys, they're going to be talking about this race all night long until they get to do it again tomorrow. Great race to open the weekend. Race number 1 for the Thunder Group from the NASA Florida region. And we'll be hearing from our winners.
So where's the name Rocket come from?
Oh, it's a name I've had since I was a kid. A little Scandinavian twist. So,
Good race car driver name. Okay, Rocket, how was the race out there today? You came in 3rd, but what'd you feel good about?
oh, you know, they're good guys. Everybody here is pretty good car control. I feel pretty confident going into the corners with them. I just couldn't get around him today. You know, maybe tomorrow.
All right. What do you want to maybe try and improve on by tomorrow, both with the car and maybe your approach to the race?
I say that again, mate.
What do you want to improve on tomorrow with the car?
Just keeping it on track. I spent more time off track today than I did on track. My car is full of grass. It looks like a lawnmower.
Oh, no. Well, can you walk us through? Can you walk me through what happened where you went into the grass?
Well, I was going into turn 10. There was a little bit of traffic. I had to hit the. Normally, you're flat out through there, balls to the wall. and there was a little bit of traffic. Hit the brakes a little bit, caused the car to rotate. Did like, I don't know, 2 or 3 360s and dirt, grass, everything. Couldn't see, my eyes were full of dirt and everything else. So, but I got it back on the track and managed to eke around another Corvette out there because he went off track. So.
All right, I didn't realize there was that much action out there. Okay, anything else that you think's worthy of a mention?
Just they're a good bunch of guys to race with. A lot of camaraderie. Ken, who took in second. I mean, we are always first, second, and today he got me. But I'm hoping I'm gunning for him tomorrow if I can just get around him. Good guys, all good guys, good people.
Great, thank you very much.
Good day.
Thank you very much, Mike. Back with more National Autosport Association action after this. Time trials on the track at Homestead Miami Speedway. Back on the NASA broadcast, Ryan Marine and Mike Perlberg taking you through the time trials action. This is not wheel-to-wheel racing. This is going out trying to set the fastest lap you can. Fastest lap at the end of the weekend takes home the big trophy. Multiple classes out on track as well in time trials. TTU, more or less unlimited. You could kind of run what you brung in that class, and then various other classes with differing performance windows, TT1 down to TT4. So we should see, Mike, a pretty interesting mix of equipment out on the track, everything from Porsche 911s to Mazda Miatas and just about anything you can imagine in between.
Yeah, you got the Lotus Exige of Greg Vannucci out there, and the Nissan 350Z of George Stama. And we're actually on board with George Stama here for the time trial. We'll see his in-car camera pop up on occasion, the 79X, right now.
On board right now, coming through this final sequence of corners on the 15-turn layout at Homestead Miami Speedway. There are a couple different variations that can be used on this road course, including using NASCAR 3 and 4, the high banked oval, banked 18 to 20 degrees, a little bit less down towards the bottom, more towards the top. That'll be in use on Sunday, but here on Saturday, it's all about the twists and turns of the 15-turn layout, 2.1825 miles, and a real technical challenge. High-speed portions, heavy braking zones, plenty of tight, twisty bits as well. This track really does challenge man and machine alike as we take a look at Stama and that Nissan 350Z coming down towards turn number 6.
Got the stock engine under the hood, 38-year-old George Stama from Fort Lauderdale, so not a long trip for him to make it here today.
And he's come up through the HPTE program of NASA as George. Right way to make your first foray onto the racetrack, and one of the things NASA does so well is promote from within. Come on, do HPDE 1, get some instruction, move on up through the HPDE ranks. HPDE standing for High Performance Driving Experience. And that can feed you into either time trials like we're seeing here, or wheel-to-wheel racing in the Lightning and Thunder categories, depending on what kind of car you bring to the track. But time trial.
Stama in his 350Z bought that car in 2005 and began autocrossing it, and still racing it today. Converted it to his just a dedicated track car in 2012. It was, kind of his everyday driver for a while, but now it's just for being out there on the track, and he's pretty happy with it. Certainly, souped it up over the years and putting up great times now.
Yep, early in the going, second flying lap, a 139.663 for Stama, the 350Z. That car in the TT4 category. But very fast, as we're seeing on display. A good driver behind the wheel makes a big difference, of course. Driver who likes to tinker with things, not just the car, but also builds his own guitars. Absolutely fascinating.
It's a guy who likes to work with his hands.
Taking a look at the gray Porsche. I believe this is Ryan Abood on track right there. Indeed it is. He's in the TTU category. Gives you a bit more freedom to work with in terms of what you do to the car or don't do to the car. First couple laps for Ryan. First lap of 144.263, and then follow that up with a 143.309.
Yeah, for Ryan, that 143 is, probably going to be hard to beat. The way it usually works with these time trials for the uninitiated, you'll see the cars get out there. They'll, get the tires warm on the first lap or so, and then they really start hitting it lap 2 or 3 when they can put up the best times, and those tires are warm and still somewhat, fresh and ready to go. And then, they might keep it out there for another lap or 2 after that, or if they feel like they're still putting up good times. But really, it's kind of those first, 3, 4, 5 laps where they're more than likely you're going to see their best times posted.
That's right. The key is to hit the tire temperatures at their peak, and you try and time that up so that they are at their best for your one flying lap that you're trying to do, maybe 2, depending on the tires and the setup that you have. You don't want to hit that peak in the middle of the lap. You want to hit it right as you start the lap, and there is an art form to that. Time trials has been a launching pad for a lot of racers within NASA, but it really helps with qualifying. Guys with time trial experience do really well in the qualifying format. So take a look at one of the BMWs here in this field. Thomas Lathrop in the black number 74. Thomas in the TT4 category, Mike.
Yeah, he's already clocking in around 145 per lap.
Looks like he's just getting quicker and quicker. So those tires starting to come in for him. Another BMW out on track. I believe this is one of the HPDE cars.
Yeah, Sanford and Son Racing. They could have anybody
Apologies,
behind
you're
them
right.
on that one.
Yep, that car. Whoa, really loose after getting up on the curbing there. Now look at the 74. Once again, Thomas Lathrop. See how hard he's pushing. That car is a handful. Coming through the right-hander, turn number 4. Spit you out onto a pretty long straightaway. And this camera is located right at turn 6. Seen this as a great passing opportunity for the racing classes, but these cars in time trials, they're going to want to spread themselves out as much as they can so that they don't get any interference. They can put down that fast lap. It's a much different philosophy than you see in the wheel-to-wheel racing and the Thunder and Lightning groups. Out of turn 7 and down now to the very sharp left-hander, turn 8, probably the slowest turn on this racetrack, and it spits you out onto very fast portion on the back straightaway. Crucial to get this right. Any extra speed you carry on exit there, you carry that with you all the way down the back straightaway into the braking zone for 10 and 11. That's why any corner that leads to a long straightaway is just absolutely crucial for lap time. Swinging through 12 and now 13 and 14. That'll carry him back onto the front straightaway. Another lap here for Lathrop.
And that's the area of the track certainly where your acceleration is going to have make the biggest difference in terms of the results that you want to get. So coming out of that second S turn through 13, 14 onto the straightaway coming out of 15, the sooner you can hit that gas and the faster your car can accelerate. So you got a lot of straight road in front of you on that front straightaway. That's really where you can gain some ground and improve your position. And in this case, improve your time.
Yep, that's what it's all about in time trials. Lathrop, fastest lap of his run thus far, broke down into the 144 bracket with a 144.324 second time. That should put him right around the top half of this field of time trials competitors. The point by being given there out the window with the left hand over the top of the roof, telling trailing car, I see ya. Go ahead and make the pass.
Again, none of the racers here, want to be doing body work in the garage on the week. They could be out there racing or tuning up something. So, yeah, once they figure they may have their best time in, or if they're maybe still just kind of warming up the tires, they'll give that courtesy wave to the guy coming up behind them, saying, "Go this way, if they get around me." And we got a spin out.
Yes, we do.
That Sanford and Son car, he's trying to qualify going backwards.
Probably not advisable, but nice save. Able to get back going. That's going to put a lot of heat in those tires, though. It would take a lap or two to get pressures back where you want them. So another look at it.
Yeah, I think, most of the guys wrapping up now. We'll probably do the same.
All right, at the top of the charts as this session wraps up, Michael Samper, quickest of all, a 1:38.895 second lap, and the number 111 machine. Lightning class action about to come your way. That means Spec Miatas on the track. Who better to catch up with ahead of the start of the Florida Region season than the reigning Region Spec Miata champion, Anthony Zappone? Our Mike Perlberg had a chance to chat with him yesterday.
Just want to get to know you a little bit here and introduce people to NASA. Why do you race?
Racing ever since I started. It's just a sport that I have grown to love, just kind of everything about it. I love being able to improve on my driving, as well as changing setup things on the car and seeing how it reacts.
What makes NASA in particular appealing to you as a young race driver?
NASA Florida is a very well-run series, and NASA offers the Teen Mazda Challenge, which is a program that I'm a part of. And with Teen Mazda Challenge, they pick a couple of candidates for a shootout race over in California for the Mazda MX-5 Cup scholarship, which is a $100,000 scholarship to run a professional series.
So you have some family history in racing, of course. Your father, once a racer.
Yep.
And he's here at the track with you this weekend, working in the garage, helping you tune up the car. Talk about that relationship.
Yeah, it's something that my dad and I have always done together. He raced a little bit way back when we used to live up in New York. He raced in a Mustang in the American Sedan SCCA class. And ever since I started in karting, it's been our thing.
Very good drivers in this Spec Miata class, and Old Dog Racing in particular has some very good drivers on it. And that's your team that you're involved in, Old Dogs Racing.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Old Dogs.
Old Dogs is a great team run by Mark Gibbons, and we have a lot of fun here at the track. And Richard's great at building and setting up the cars, and it's just an overall great experience.
All right, so Mark, not only kind of the team owner, the head of the team, but he's frequently out there on the track with you.
Yeah.
And so you guys are not only teammates, and he's not only kind of your racing boss, but also your competitor.
Yeah, me and Mark, we race very well together. We run very close, and at tracks that require bump drafting, we're able to run very closely and kind of predict each other's driving since we've been running together for so long now.
Mm-hmm. So you started in racing at age 10, you're 17 now, but you started racing karting, as many juvenile drivers do. Before they get into some of the more serious racing like you're doing now, still at the very young age of 17. But how has the karting experience benefited you as you moved up to Spec Miata
I'd say karting at a national level really helped shape me into the driver I am now, especially with racecraft and having very good competitors at a young age, especially racing nationally. Just really good talent throughout the field in karting, and met a lot of great people along the way.
So the Mazda Miata, you see it on the street. It's not a vehicle that people usually get all too excited about, but here at NASA, Spec Miata is a big deal.
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, the Mazda Miata is a great platform. They have 50-50 weight distribution, which really helps with the handling of the car. And they don't make too much power. They're actually probably some of the slowest cars out there power-wise. But with our corner speeds, we're able to keep up with some of the faster cars.
Gotcha. Anthony, thank you for the time. It was a lot of fun, and great being here with you at Homestead Miami Speedway this weekend. We wish you luck with NASA and all your future endeavors.
Thank you. Yep, it was great talking with you.
Thank you very much, Mike. Back with more National Autosport Association action after this. Welcome back to Homestead Miami Speedway. The cars of the Lightning division on the track, Spec Miata and Spec E30, two classes that are low on horsepower but high on fun. Very cost-capped, very specific in terms of what these drivers and their crews, if they have a crew, are allowed to do to modify the cars, but very close competition in both of these classes, and that's why they are fan favorites and competitor favorites. In many cases, drivers come to Spec E30 or Spec Miata as an entry into club-level racing. Many times they never leave because it's as fun as it gets behind the wheel. Alongside Mike Perlberg, I'm Ryan Marine. Mike, about ready to get this thing underway. These two classes always put on a show.
They do. I mean, it's not the big, sexy cars that we saw out there earlier today in American Iron or otherwise, not the Mustangs, the Porsches, or the Corvettes, but yeah. Miatas and BMW 325s, 318s, these guys are going to put on a show out here because it's going to be close racing throughout, more than likely. And you're probably going to see these cars running laps anywhere from about 145 to about 150 on the slower end. And looking forward to it, man. Let's get it up.
Buckle up. It's about time to set these guys loose. The Spec E30 field will be the first wave past the start-finish line. And the green flag is out, side by side at the front of this field, barreling down into turn one for the first time. Strong move to the inside in the green machine there, trying to hang on to the lead from the beginning. Corey Smith, he's got a challenge though to the outside. Andrew Engelman holding strong, contesting that top spot here in the first time through.
And the first S turn, always in particularly very tricky on the opening lap because it's about as tight as traffic is going to get at any point in the race. And then that first S turn, those are some mighty tight turns in there through 3 and 4, leading into 5. And come out of that into the second straightaway through the middle of the course. But we've seen a few bumps here and there in that S turn.
Yeah, turns 3 and 4, a pair of 180-degree corners. First one to the left, next one to the right. This is the Spec Miata field, working their way through a standing yellow here in turn 6. You saw it from the corner marshal there just a moment ago. No passing can be done under the standing yellow. It's Singer who got the jump at the start, and he's got that car out in front as we go on board for the first time. A great look at the youngster, Anthony Zappone, and the number 19 Miata, part of the Teen Mazda Challenge, and the reigning Spec Miata champion in the Florida region.
Yeah, he's part of the Old Dogs racing team. You got a few cars out there, and including the head guy on the team, Mark Gibbons. And so far, those two guys running pretty closely together in the Spec Miata division here in the early going, but certainly teammates in the garage, but you get them out here on the course, and yeah, they're going to be competitors.
Nothing more fun than going door to door with your friend, and that's what NASA racing is all about. Engelman able to get the jump there and jump to the lead of Spec E30. Got around the green car of Corey Smith there on that opening lap after going side by side for a good part of that first lap. Snaking through turns 3 and 4. The back-to-back 180-degree corners puts a lot of load in the tires. A real challenge on the setup to get the car to turn well in both directions. A track like this, you really can't set it up to go left better than right or vice versa, like some tracks, like a Lime Rock Park comes to mind. This one really does put a lot of emphasis on a good handling race car and a strong motor as well, with 3 really long straightaways that also present great opportunities to get some passing done. Back on board with Zapone here.
I see a lot of the passing happen on the 55-foot wide outside parts of the track, the NASCAR lanes. 55 feet wide, plenty of room for cars to maneuver around each other there.
Love how calm Zapone looks behind the wheel. He's got some miles under him for a youngster. Not a lot of situations he hasn't seen before already at a young age.
Yeah,
Great
started
shot
off
at
his
the
racing
top.
career like a lot of guys in karting.
That is the traditional way to get into motorsports these days. And that transitions nicely to Spec Miata racing. A lot of people compare them to just a bigger go-kart. Same principles apply, keeping momentum up. Keeping that momentum is crucial because you don't have a big motor to pull you out of the corners or pull you out of a mistake. This is the Spec E30 field. A little bit more motor than you'd see in a Miata, but a heavier car. And oftentimes they run similar lap times depending on driver skill. These two classes can kind of overlap from time to time. Just an absolute blast. Both the Miatas and the BMWs. As we take a look there, it's Engelman leading the way through, but a really strong battle for second starting to heat up in Spec E30, and right here, as tight as ever in the Spec Miata category. Does look like Singer's been able to get a bit of a jump and pull out to a lead of 2 or 3 car lengths. But really tight here between the 19 and the purple machine just behind. Purple car, Mark Gibbons, the 19. That's Zapone. We're on board with him right now.
Out of Lakewood Ranch, Florida.
Mentioned he's part of the Teen Mazda Challenge program. Mazda does such a great job at the grassroots level to support motorsports, and the Teen Mazda Challenge has been around for about a decade now. The idea is to identify some youngsters who have some promise, monitor their progress. There's kind of a championship within a championship, comparing results from different regions all around the country, and you do well enough, you catch Mazda's eye, and there's an opportunity to start a professional racing career. Whoa, big slide there as Gibbons dropped 2 wheels to the inside of the curbs, kicked that car sideways, but he was able to wrangle control back under him, and he'll set off in hot pursuit of Zapone once again.
Gibbons at the head of that Old Dogs racing team, aptly named, and that experience certainly coming in handy there. He's able to keep it under control. Here's a pass, potentially.
Strong moved out the inside. Can't get the job done, though. Number 100, Scott Mckay, a veteran Spec E30 racer, competed in the NASA Nationals back in 2019, finished 16th. He was 3rd in this region last year in the season-long points. Champion a year ago was Carlos Mendez, or sorry, 2nd place last year was Carlos Mendez. The champion, Curtis Buxton, not in the field here this weekend.
Carlos Mendez is too, and he's not too far behind. He's kind of been meticulously working his way toward the front in Spec E30 so far. And look at Jesse Singer in Spec Miata. He's leaving him in the dust.
Not something you see often. Somebody with some strife there. One of the Spec E30s out of the racing line. That car is out of harm's way, so that should allow us to keep racing. So heads up driving there to get that car into a safe spot.
You saw the gap there, though, as we were focusing on that broken down and Singer, he's got a good 5-6 seconds ahead of these guys.
Yeah, he is. Stolen a march on the rest of the Spec Miata field. The battle right now appears to be heating up for second place. Looks like had a pass there. And up into second, Mark Gibbons around Zappone. And right behind them, good gaggle of 3 Spec Miatas running nose to tail as well. See how much lock Zappone had in the wheel there. There are some very tight corners around this racetrack, some long duration corners as well, which, as we mentioned, takes its toll on the tires. Somebody going off a little bit of wide and kicking off some dust. Looking for every bit of racetrack you can use, so crucial in these lower horsepower categories. And as you see now, the back of the Spec E30 field starting to overlap a little bit with the front of the Spec Miatas. That second and third coming through.
Hey, you'll see a lot of dust being picked up here in this race, and I know we're in a Miami area, but you don't want to hit the sand until after the race, guys.
Yeah, that's right. And maybe sand is the more accurate description. It is pretty sandy, and the grass is my understanding around this racetrack. And every time somebody goes off like that, it's dragging some of that sand onto the track, and that can cause some problems. It gets on the hot tires, the hot racing rubber adheres to just about anything. And so you bring that sand on the track, it's going to take a little bit of time to dust off the tires if they pick up too much of that debris.
They even got a beach on the infield here at Homestead Miami, so you see all the palm trees around the track, and they complete the South Florida feel with the beach on the infield.
Now, you've got no doubt where in the world you are when you take a look at pictures of this racetrack as Gibbons makes his way around some lap traffic in the Spec E30 class. If you're new to multi-class racing, 2 different classes on the track at the same time. They've got their own races that they're worrying about. Really, it doesn't matter where they are in the overall standings. There's some competition there, but primarily these drivers are just focused on their competitors within their own classes. But that doesn't mean you don't have to deal with out-of-class traffic from time to time, and learning how to work that traffic, sometimes even use it to your advantage. That's crucial in this form of racing.
I mean, this is the battle that we're looking at right now in Spec Miata. It's Gibbons and Zappone because Singer is way out in front. So watching these two guys, these two teammates with Old Dogs Racing go at it, that's apparently where the action is, and where a lot of the attention is going to be focused here right now. Because Singer's just, when we talk about these cars being so similarly tuned, and I don't know what edge he has, but he's looking good.
Well, the beauty of a class like Spec Miata is there's really not a whole lot you can do to the race car. There are some adjustments you can make, tire pressure and some camber settings within a window. There are some fine-tuning kind of adjustments you can do, but the kind of wholesale modifications, this is not the class for that. And what that means is driver talent really comes to the fore. And so if a driver like Singer can pull away the way he has, that speaks pretty highly to his skill behind the wheel. This is second and third, though, like Mike mentioned, coming down the front straightaway. And look how close those two cars are together. That's Spec Miata racing at its finest, pushing each other quite literally down the front stretch.
Yeah, Zappone just looking to draft off of Gibbons in front of him, biding this time. I'm sure at some point here before long we'll see Zappone try and make a move.
Well, they're seeing Singer pull away out the front windshield, and I'm sure the thought is crossing their minds, hey, maybe if we work together a little bit, we can try and track him back down. And I think Zappone will be patient for a little while until they figure out if that's going to work or not. But if it becomes apparent that, you know, it might be faster if I'm out in front, then Zappone, I expect he'll try and make the move.
Yeah, those team guys, they do share a, radio signal. So they're probably having that exact same conversation, right?
That is cool to hear that they have real-time communication with one another. Not unheard of for sure. especially in a class like this where teamwork really does come into play. Look how calm Zappone is. That's amazing. Ah, look, Mom, no hands. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's working for him, running in podium contention.
Hey, you got 55 feet between the wall and the infield, so use it.
That is a driver totally in tune with his race car. Couldn't be more comfortable. Like some lap traffic here. Problems earlier in the race, evidently, for one of the Spec Miata field. Second and third coming through to put that car a lap down. I believe it's still Andrew Engelman out in front in Spec E30. Had a really great start to the race. There's Singer just ahead. You can see him. And this is going to hold this group up a little bit as they work their way through some lap traffic from the Spec E30 class. And I'm sorry, that probably was not Singer out in front. I think that is the lapped car we were seeing earlier. Similar color scheme, however. Picking up this fight, number 24, Manny Platis, out in front of the 32, that chrome machine, Nick Malatesta driving that one. And these two have been bumper to bumper for much of this race. Back to the Spec E30 cars now.
Looks like Carlos Mendez now running up front in Spec E30.
Here's your right, able to get the jump, get out to the front of this field. This battle a little further back, 13 and 21. 13 is Mendez. That's Corey Smith in the green machine. That looks like the top four all in the same picture. Giving you an idea of how close this is. One comes through out in front, so it looks like Engelman is holding that spot for the moment. Right there on the back of that. Well, we'll catch that in just a moment. Here we go, back to this battle in Spec Miata. 24 of Manny Platis has the position. And the chrome number 32, Nick Malatesta, he wants it, and he wants it badly, using up all that curbing on the exit of the corner just to try and keep that momentum up. And there's been no break in the battle for second, as we see right there. Back on board with our third place runner, Anthony Zappone. And it's Andrew Carbino. Hasn't been a great run for Andrew, a veteran who's raced at a very high level, both in club racing and into the lower rungs of professional racing as well. Born in Frankfurt, Germany, that has made his home in the U.S. for some time. Very accomplished road racing driver.
Jesse Singer just to walk in the park.
Yeah, making it look easy. Anyone who's been behind the wheel of one of these things knows it's anything but. And when you can put on a dominant performance like this, that really is saying something, especially in a class like Spec Miata. Teammates still second and third. Gibbons over Zappone as they come through this 180-degree corner. Left-hander in turn 3. Back to the right now in turn 4. Through the infield of Homestead Miami Speedway. track was first constructed back in 1993. That's when they broke ground. It was completed in 1995. This area had been devastated by Hurricane Andrew. Whoa, big slide there from the 19. Able to bring it back under control, but just dropping a wheel slightly there was Zappone. He had his hands full. Back to the track. It was part of a revitalization project for this area of Florida after Hurricane Andrew came through. And it's certainly done that, bringing a lot of tourism and business to the Homestead area.
That's for a number of years been the final stop in the big NASCAR circuit. So we've seen NASCAR champions crowned here.
Absolutely. Top 3 levels of NASCAR racing for many years until just the last year, in fact. Had their champions in here for the better part of a decade. IndyCar for a time also did that, and professional road racing has made use of this circuit as well. Grand Am most notably, but also the FIA GT Championship for a couple of years. So this road course has some pedigree. You have drivers like Hurley Haywood and James Weaver and Didier Tays able to say they won races here, and now these NASA drivers sharing the same circuit. Got to be a point of pride for all involved. Now, getting down to the nitty-gritty here, as we got a battle developing in Spec E30. Yellow car making a move to the inside. Chris Leone. Looks like he was able to make that pass stick into turn 1. Back to the 67 Spec Miata of Carbino. Having a bit of a lonely race, which, as mentioned, is somewhat uncommon in Spec Miata competition. And here is Leone, like I mentioned. It looks like he was able to make that pass a moment ago for position in Spec E30. Dropping back to take a look at another Spec Miata competitor now. 31, and a gunmetal gray car, Joe Pace, who was 3rd in Spec Miata points in the Florida region a year ago. Doing his best to track down Carbino. Every position matters for points in the season-long championship.
I don't know if Singer's found the brakes yet.
Yeah, he's been flying. Got a great jump, held the lead early on, and really was not troubled. After going to the top spot, he's just been able to pull that gap lap after lap after lap, despite 2 old dog teammates running in lockstep, doing a little bump drafting. Hasn't been enough to keep in touch with Singer, who's led every lap of this thing in
Saw
Spec
Singer there a
E30.
moment ago, and then just getting into the back end, the first beginning of this middle straightaway, or Gibbons and Zappone.
Yeah, that's a great shot to show just how big of a gap it is, and that's the second time we've seen Zappone have the rear end step out on him, drop that left rear wheel into the dust just outside the track. But great car control to keep it pointed in the right direction, and his pursuit of Gibbons continues. That's the fight for second spot.
Zappone doesn't seem to mind getting that wheel off in the dirt.
Definitely shows some comfort. We saw him driving with no hands earlier, so
Yep.
There's no question he's as comfortable as can be. A close fight here in Spec E30. We can grab numbers on those cars in a moment. There's 3 more Spec E30s running nose to tail. It's the run down into turn 6. Call it the infield straightaway, I guess, to separate it from the front to the back straightaways.
Yeah, that's your 1, 2, 3 right there. Mendez, Engelman, Smith at the moment in Spec E30.
And back on with Zapone, cool as a cucumber. As you can see, this track situated very much in the middle of the state, not super close to any kind of metropolitan area. It's a bit of a drive to get to Miami, and that was, again, part of the reason for constructing this track when they did in the mid-1990s to help this area recover economically. Here we go again, Zapone giving chase and undaunted. Mike, after dropping a wheel a couple of times, crazy slides, and he just gets right back onto it, doesn't it? Gibbons has had no chance to relax.
Yeah, you go back to those two guys, those two teammates with Old Dogs Racing working together, trying to do anything to catch up with Jesse Singer, but despite the teamwork, just not in the cards for them today. But second and third, altogether, not all bad.
Certainly not. Anytime you can stand on a podium.
Yep.
And it's not over yet. Let's keep that in mind. A lot of things can happen in motorsports. Something can break. Out-of-class traffic can play a role. So Singer's got the lead, and I'm certain he'll do his best to maintain it. Not push too hard.
Too easy either, because not far behind him, you got breathing down there next is Francisco Barroso.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Oh, we got someone with some problems here off track, and safety crew right there doing a great job as always. These guys putting themselves in the line of fire to take care of the race cars and be able to keep the track green, stay racing. Big thanks to them and all our corner marshals stationed around the track. Can't go racing without them. But yeah, look at this fight. All of a sudden, it is a three-car battle up at the front. Second, third, and fourth in Spec Miata right there in the same picture. Francisco Barroso, you mentioned him a moment ago, creeping into this picture. It looks like he's made the move there to get up into third.
Yeah.
Now he's on the attack of Gibbons. Look at him. He's going to have a shot into turn 6, I think. Another Team Mazda Challenge driver driving above his years.
Time ticking away in this race too, so these guys really want to be jockeying hard for that best finish possible.
Yeah, it's definitely go time now. Can't wait around much longer. If you got the pace, it's time to make the move.
Carlos Mendez. Fairly comfortable lead in a Spec E30. You see Engelman and Smith each about second and a half, 2 seconds behind.
Mendez, very experienced in Spec E30 competition, raced at the NASA Nationals back in 2019 in this class and finished 7th. This tends to be a very highly subscribed class, so that's a great finish against the best in the country in Spec E30 racing. And was 7th in points in this region back in 2019.
With the white flags out.
One lap to go. Time to settle the score. Gibbons has the lead. It looks like Zapone's been able to get back around Barroso to take the top spot. Not the top spot, rather, but the final step of the podium. Well, that's changed hands a couple of times.
Yeah, Singer's certainly been the outlier in Spec Miata. You know, that second, third, fourth place battle is what we fully expect coming into the race. Those guys
see the white flag flying.
Nose to tail the whole way through.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a great battle. That's what Spec Miata is all about. That was Carbino coming through to take the white flag, so we'll have one more to go. And there we have the checkered flag for our Spec E30 winner and top 3. Carlos Mendez leading that field home. And this might be Singer coming through here out in front of the Spec Miata field. There's the Spec E30 cycling through. Carlos Mendez picking up the win over Andrew Engelman in Spec E30. Corey Smith in the green car comes home in third. And Jesse Singer, as we mentioned, at the front of the Spec Miata field. Pretty comprehensive over
There's
Mark
Singer
Gibbons.
just
Let's
crossed
see,
the
that's
finish
Singer
line.
coming
Here's
through now.
Here it is. Second place
Yep,
on the
this
line.
is the battle. Oh, look at this. Side by side for third, coming to the line. Who's going to win it? It's Zappone who takes the final step of the podium. Able to hold off the charge from Barocco there at the last minute. Great stuff as always in Spec Miata.
Little fist pump from the young man there. He was fired up.
Less than 0.2 of a second between 9th and 10th overall, and third and fourth in class.
Well, I had fun with that race. I mean, Mendez, Engelman, Smith. It was, Carlos started back middle of the pack at the beginning of the race and was able to kind of meticulously work his way to the front. Once he got that front position, never relinquished it. And then what can you say about Jesse Singer? I mean, clearly the fastest car out there today. His fastest lap in this one was 147.9.
Absolute tour de force from Jesse Singer in Spec Miata. Kind of domination you just don't see. You mentioned at 147.9, his best lap in this race. Gibbons, who finished second, was nearly a second slower with his best lap time. Zappone and Rosso all running around the same times in the mid 148 bracket. Nick Malatesta, by the way, came home in the 5th spot, completing the top 5 in Spec Miata. Top 5 in Spec E30, Carlos Mendez, Andrew Engelman, Corey Smith, Scott Mckay, and Tulio Rosado. So congratulations to all of our winners, and I think Mike will have a chance to catch up with our race winners in just a moment.
First place, you obviously have to be very, very pleased with the performance out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. We had a great car in qualifying, and we just moved it on into the race and got a good jump and just pretty much checked out.
Okay. So what was it that set you up for success?
Just a clear head, basically. Try to relax. Sometimes I overdrive and leads to little errors, but not today. It was great. I mean, a great car, Auto Technique, Ricer Racing, Old Dogs gave me a great car, and was able to get the win.
Do you know how far ahead you may have finished?
No idea. I couldn't see anybody.
All right, so you must have been pretty far ahead. I was hearing at some point that there was a battle for like second, third, fourth, so you may have been pretty far ahead of the rest of the pack, but let's see. So generally, just about racing with NASA and doing these events. I don't know how frequently you may do them, and your experience with NASA, if you could just talk about that.
Well, actually, it's my first event for NASA. When I heard they were doing the championship here at Daytona, I said, "Whoa, that sounds like fun. Let's do that." So it's my first race of several more, and they put on a great show here. They really care about the drivers and having a good time, and it's been wonderful, absolutely wonderful. They had good venues here, Sebring, so great time.
And why is it that you race?
Keeps me sane. If I didn't, life wouldn't be fun. Life is fun when I'm in that car, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Right. Thank you.
Back with more National Autosport Association action after this. That concludes a busy day of racing at Homestead Miami Speedway, but what a great way to kick off the 2021 racing season. Mike, final thoughts on all the action we saw today?
Ton of fun here at Homestead Miami on the 2.2 mile road course. Really got appreciated having the opportunity to get to know a lot of these drivers and learn more about grassroots racing. Nobody does it better than the National Auto Sports Association, Ryan.
Now, that's just the beginning of what should be a fun-filled 2021. We hope you join us next time for our next broadcast of the National Autosport Association.
This has been a NOW Broadcasting Live production. This broadcasting is copyrighted by NOW Broadcasting Live LLC. It may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the express written consent of NOW Broadcasting Live LLC. We hope you've enjoyed today's broadcast.